Android definitely doesn't starve when it comes to RPGs. Well, it's probably one of the genres with the most games out there, but just like anything in life, too much quantity ends up burying some great titles and leaving them forgotten. You've probably heard of Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves, sure, but in this video I'm going to show you 15 amazing RPGs that are still underrated on Android. So hit that like button and let's get started. Let's start the list with a game I'm almost sure many people don't even realize is connected to Nintendo. And yes, it's also available on Android. I'm talking about ZOETI. You move through a map in the style of Slay the Spire, battling enemies, choosing different paths, unlocking events, and upgrading your deck in a classic card game format with a touch of roguelike flair. But here's the twist. The cards aren't normal attacks or ability cards. Each card is actually a suit and a number, and you build combinations like pairs, triples, flushes, full houses, and so on. These combos trigger unique skills for your character. It can be a bit tricky on your very first run, but after about 20 minutes you start to get the hang of it, and that's when you realize just how brilliant the game really is. Overall, ZOETI is perfect for anyone who loves strategy, deck building, and roguelikes, but wants something that goes beyond the usual play a card to attack. I absolutely love this style of RPG, it's honestly one of my favorites, and this game is incredibly challenging as well. Let's talk about ZOLD out. The core idea is simple. You build a team of characters, equip different weapons, and jump into battles. But the real charm lies in how you manage your actions and moving your units, choosing the right cards, and planning each turn with purpose. In this game, positioning is everything. Coming in from the right angle, using obstacles, or setting up a clean line of attack makes a huge difference. Some abilities push enemies back, slam them into walls, or deal bonus damage depending on the path your attack travels. The game has a gacha system and several offline modes where you can take down waves of enemies, but the best part, like I said, is just how challenging it is. Overall, ZOLD out stands out as a more creative tactical strategy game, one that doesn't lock you into rigid turns and lets you build clever, satisfying plays. I could easily place this game in the RPG category or call it a full-on roguelike. On the out, it really has a foot in both worlds. Like what? Let's talk about VALHALLA Survivors. The core loop is that classic addictive formula. You drop into the map, start off weak and surrounded by hordes of monsters, and gradually grow stronger as you take down enemies and collect experience for the next stage. The game has a Norse theme filled with mythical creatures and cool abilities to try out. And speaking of abilities, there are tons of them, letting you build your character however you want. Even when you die, part of your progress carries back to the camp, where you can upgrade stats and unlock new characters. If you enjoy fast-paced, intense gameplay where every run turns into a storm of enemies and flashy effects across the screen, VALHALLA Survivors is a perfect pick. I remember a while back when this game was pretty popular. I used to play it on one of my old consoles, but nowadays it's almost forgotten. Let's talk about Torchlight Infinite.
Even in the darkness, we never forgot the light.
This is an ARPG in the style of Diablo, but with a much faster, more explosive pace, fully focused on creating ridiculously powerful characters. It's part of the Torchlight franchise, but brings a much more modern approach. You pick a hero, each with their own unique playstyle, and combine abilities to create builds that truly change the way you play. Unlike VALHALLA Survivors, which leans heavily into roguelike gameplay, this one sits much closer to a classic dungeon crawler. The game is all about farming gear, hunting legendary items, and diving into dungeons filled with millions of monsters. Torchlight Infinite delivers that pure addiction, constant action, numbers flying everywhere, and the amazing feeling of crafting a build that gets crazier and more powerful each run. This is easily one of the most random and one of the most unique RPGs I've ever seen. Let's talk about ETE Chronicle. It's an action RPG with a mecha theme and a heavy focus on anime-style female characters. The combat isn't turn-based or fully automatic. You actually control your character in real time on a 3D battlefield, needing to move, dodge, and chain together combos and special abilities. One of its biggest highlights is the variety of battlefields. Fights take place on land, sea, and air, each with completely different gameplay styles. The game is also known for its roster of over 50 female characters, and as you've probably guessed, there's a good amount of fan service involved. You can increase your affinity with the characters, unlocking extra story content, outfits, and let's just say a few additional extras. Here's a new game I stumbled across recently, and I got seriously hooked on it. Let's talk about Shadowborn. Shadowborn is an arcade-style action RPG with fast combat, a dark fantasy look, and mechanics built for quick, intense sessions. There are 4 classes to choose from at the start, but as soon as you begin playing, you realize something important. The game lets you mix abilities and playstyles however you want. That means you can shape your hero any way you like, and almost like a sandbox class system. Unlike Torchlight, which we talked about earlier, Shadowborn leans into shorter, tougher runs. It doesn't rely on anything extremely flashy, but it still delivers a gameplay loop that's surprisingly addictive and genuinely fun. This is a truly isometric game, yeah, you can't even see your character's face. And that jokes aside, this one is hardcore to the bone. Let's talk about Shadow of the Depth. The game gives you a choice of 5 different characters which basically act as its classes, like Arya, an assassin type, or Ginzo, who plays more like a traditional swordsman. The levels are procedurally generated, making every run completely different. And even when you die, you still make progress. You unlock new talents and can acquire and equip runes that permanently enhance your character's abilities for future attempts. I remember that during my first 30 minutes I genuinely wanted to quit. It felt way too complicated. But it's really just a matter of getting used to how the game works. In short, Shadow of the Depth manages to be surprisingly exciting, even though it's simple at its core with an absolutely brutal level of difficulty. Here's one of the RPGs released in 2025 that didn't get much attention, even though it's easily one of the most beautiful games of the year. Let's talk about Seal of Fate. The story follows you, the captain, joining the Ginger Squadron in search of the legendary Seal of Fate, which takes the form of the character Lumina. The visuals are one of the game's biggest highlights: modern 3D graphics, high quality models, a vibrant fantasy world, and anime-inspired character designs. The main gameplay loop revolves around collecting and summoning over 100 waifus. Yes, the classic cute anime girls. I know it looks like one of those generic anime gacha games at first glance, but it's crafted so well that you end up forgetting how simple it actually is. It's a great pick for anyone who enjoys hero collector RPGs with strong anime aesthetics and a focus on team-based strategy. Here's another RPG released this year with an incredible open world and a well-crafted story. And honestly, I still don't understand why it didn't become popular. Let's talk about Memento White Shadow. You can choose either a male or female protagonist, and after that you're thrown into another world, gaining powers far beyond your limits and getting caught up in that world's main conflict. The journey begins with an investigation to find a childhood friend who vanished after an attack by witches. You'll build a team of heroes with different classes, stats, and abilities. The combat system uses MP mana points, which you need to manage carefully to trigger skills and powerful ultimates. I played this game for around 3 months, and I can honestly say it's better than about 90% of the RPGs on the Playstore, but for some strange reason it never got the popularity it deserves. This is easily one of the best offline RPGs released this year, and it's honestly impressive that it's both offline and free. Let's talk about ONIRO. The combat is fast and brutal, but the real strength of the game lies in its build system. ONIRO offers a deep skill tree that lets you mix talents from 21 unique classes, creating all kinds of hybrid characters, like a warrior mage for example. The hunt for gear is incredibly addictive. You can find over 200 legendary items, upgrade them with gems, and discover powerful synergies. Your gear basically defines your destiny, but it won't come easy since the game features more than 100 dungeons to explore. It's genuinely addictive and feels almost like a Diablo Immortal experience, but completely offline. This is a game that ended up pretty forgotten here in the West, but in the East, people actually enjoy it a lot. Let's talk about Morimens. It's a game that blends deck building with roguelite elements and draws heavy inspiration from Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos. Combat is entirely card-based, requiring strategic thinking to manage your resources and use the right abilities at the right moment. The game also brings in strong RPG elements through its characters, with skills, equipment, and progression systems of all kinds. With every step you take, you're refining your deck, acquiring new buffs, items, and loot that directly affect your next battle. I'm also a big fan of the visuals here, the art style is beautiful and even the skill animations are really well crafted. In short, Morimens is perfect for players who enjoy roguelike card games similar to Slay the Spire, but want something online with far more RPG depth and personality. METRIA is one of the few truly offline RPGs made by Asobimo, and honestly you should give it a chance, because if there's one thing Asobimo knows how to do, it's RPGs. The game takes place on the continent of Ronaris, which is made up of 9 distinct countries for you to explore. It's not a massive seamless open world, but it does offer plenty of areas and dungeons with solid exploration. It was released during that Genshin Impact boom when every studio wanted its own gacha style action RPG, and Asobimo's answer was METRIA. You build a team of 3 characters and can switch between them instantly during combat. The gameplay is real-time action, fast, fluid and demanding. You'll need to dodge, jump, land basic attacks and use special skills at the right moment. Even the story feels slightly inspired by Genshin Impact, but the big difference is simple. METRIA is easily 10 times harder. If you enjoy classic turn-based or tactical RPGs with that old school flavor, here's a really interesting title that came out this year, MECHARASHI Madeish. You can build your own mechs by combining different parts, moba's body, arms, legs, from multiple models depending on the strategy you want. The game also offers a wide variety of weapons which completely change whether you fight at long or close range. You'll also choose pilots with different classes and personalities, each bringing their own abilities and stat bonuses, but the real standout feature is the targeted body part combat system. For example, attacking the legs reduces an enemy mech's mobility. Destroying the arms disables the weapons it's holding. Destroying the torso eliminates the mech entirely. This makes every attack incredibly strategic. If you like turn-based strategy, mecha themes, and gameplay where building your unit is just as important as battlefield tactics, MECHARASHI is a fantastic pick. This game is interesting even in the way it works because it's completely different from the usual. Let's talk about Legends of ELUMIA. It delivers a traditional MMORPG experience, letting you explore a large fantasy world filled with quests, but in a format that leans much more toward offline or single-player play. One thing the community really appreciates is the lack of autoplay. You control everything manually, movement, combat, and ability usage, which makes the gameplay feel much more engaging. Dungeons can be played solo, in no easy mode, or in groups of up to 4 players, hard mode, and there are also special dungeons that require keys to enter. The game includes NFTs as well, though to be honest, it's not something everyone fully understands. In short, Legends of ELUMIA is a fantasy MMORPG that aims to offer a more hands-on, challenging experience. This is one of those games Android players waited a long time for, but now that it's finally out, it ended up a bit forgotten. Let's talk about Infinity NIKKE. The game mixes action RPG, open world adventure, and a central focus on fashion and customization, creating a surprisingly unique experience. It takes place in a vibrant open world called Miraland, encouraging exploration in a style similar to Genshin Impact. The biggest innovation is that outfits aren't just cosmetic, they grant magical abilities that are essential for exploration and puzzle solving. You'll find dresses that let you float, others that can shrink your character, and many more creative abilities tied directly to clothing. But don't get the wrong idea, the game also has plenty of enemies and a lot of combat, blending both sides into a very different kind of RPG. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this overview, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might enjoy this game too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.